Hello and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll talk about the GE Genesis locomotives, about their history, comprehensive train information, and design. I'll first give a brief introduction of what these GE Genesis locomotives are. The GE or General Electric Genesis Locomotives is a series of passenger diesel locomotives made by General Electric Company. These locomotives were built between 1992 and 2001, and a total of 321 units were built for Amtrak, Metro North, and Via Rail. These locomotives were designed for Amtrak to replace the F40PHs that were used on long-distance and corridor trains. The three types of GE Genesis locomotives are the P40DC, P42DC, and the P32AC-DM. Now let's look at the letters and numbers to see what they each represent. The P40DC indicates that the P stands for passenger, the 40 indicates 4,000 horsepower, and the DC indicates its DC traction. The same thing for the P42DC. The P indicates its passenger train, the 42 indicates its 4,250 horsepower, and the DC indicates its DC traction. The P32AC-DM represents that the P stands for passenger, the 32 represents it has 3,200 horsepower, and the AC represents it used AC traction motors, and the DM represents that they are dual-mode locomotives. In the late 1980s, Amtrak was looking for a new diesel locomotive, a locomotive that would run for a long period of time and be able to resist the tight clearances in the Northeast, as well as a light and faster train than the known EMD F40PH. Two manufacturers, EMD and GE, responded. GE was eventually given the contract to build 64 diesel units and 10 dual-mode locomotives. GE partnered with Krupp for the design of the lightweight body shell, but the final design wasn't able to be determined on time. GE would eventually build 20 fewer units of the new design, and instead build 20 3,200 horsepower units based on their existing line of 4-axle -8 freight locomotives. These locomotives are the P32-8WH units and are currently in service as switchers and backup units. The final design was revealed in 1993 as the Genesis, at first named the Amtrak Monocoque Diesel 103 mph or AMD 103, later to be renamed the P40DC or Genesis. GE built 44 P40 units for Amtrak. Some of them were sold to New Jersey Transit and the Connecticut Department of Transportation, while many have gone through refurbishment and restored by Amtrak. The rest are still in storage with Phase 4 colors. The second variant came 2 years later as the AMD 110, dual-mode or hybrid locomotive, later renamed the P32AC-DM or Genesis. Later that year, the final variant was introduced. Amtrak requested an order for 120 diesel-powered units, but faster and more powerful than the P40DC. This came to be the P42DC, the original locomotive for Amtrak outside the Northeast Corridor today. Metro North, a commuter railroad operating in New York and Connecticut, ordered 32 P32AC-DM units for operating trains into New York's Grand Central Terminal. The final Genesis units produced by GE were 21 diesel units for Via Rail of Canada in 2001. Both the P40DC and the P42DC are diesel-electric locomotives built by GE Transportation Systems. Both the P40DC and P42DC operate on Metro North, Amtrak, and Via Rail. The P42DC is the most common locomotive in the GE Genesis series on most of Amtrak's routes in the Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, and Western United States. The P32AC-DM is a dual-mode or diesel-electric locomotive. The P32AC-DM operates on mostly Metro North Railroad and is common on the Empire Service Route in the eastern United States. Both the P40 and P42 weigh 268,240 pounds. The P32AC-DM weighs 274,400 pounds. The original P40DC reached 103 miles per hour, but then it was upgraded to 110 miles per hour, as well as the P32AC-DM and P42DC. The GE Genesis series is unique among recently manufactured North American passenger locomotives in that it uses a single monocoque car body design styled by industrial designer Cesar Vergara, making it lighter, more aerodynamic, and more fuel efficient than its predecessors, such as the F40PH, F59PH, P30CH, and P32-BWH. That concludes today's episode on the GE Genesis Locomotives. I hope you learned a lot about the GE Genesis Locomotives when someday they will retire with new locomotives making trains more efficient. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video.